Hey Arcturian Starseeds, welcome to Starseed Energetics. This is going to be your July energy reading, or whenever you're watching this, it's essentially timeless. So if you stumbled across this reading in a later month, then this is for you right now. So before I get into... Okay, this is working. Before I get into the entire reading, I know for a fact that as I'm tuning into this reading right now, this reading is for a very specific amount of people. It might not resonate with you, but if you do, this is for you. But yeah, it's a very specialized and I guess niche energy for this month. Okay, you specific Arcturian, whoever is watching this, the specific persons that are watching this. Where do I begin? Okay, so I'm beginning with mangosteen. This is going to be super random, but sometimes my higher selves, I don't even want to call that anymore, the higher downloads that I get give me very, very specific things that I should do in the earthly reality, and it's things that I'm not consciously aware of until they bring it up. Like, for example, they'll tell me to read a book by like Douglas Copeland, and it's like such a random thing, and it's something I have to Google later to make sure it's like even an author, but always it's something different. Like one time I was given the instructions to take realization that one of my past lives was Joseph Campbell, and I had to look that up because I didn't know who that was. Like, it's very specific, and one of the most specific things that I've got as an information was to take mangosteen, and I'm like, what the hell is a mangosteen? I didn't even know it was like a real fruit, and then I googled it and I realized it's like a real fruit. I didn't think it was like, it was just something that I was guided to take, and then I googled it, and it turns out that it's one of the most powerful superfoods in the world, and apparently it's gonna be a very significant fruit to the future society. And so I'm trying to get a hold of this mangosteen stuff because I'm in Malaysia right now and it's not very accessible. So yeah, for me, I have to figure that out, but it's also, they told me to tell you guys specifically to take mangosteen, and so you can either buy that in a pill form or powder form or juice, or I think you can even get dried mangosteen, freeze-dried mangosteen, and eat it. But that's gonna be really good for you, and it's not random, it's just a real manifestation of new things that come into your life that have a significant higher frequency than what you're used to, and that fruit is one of those things. And what else? Okay, so you're coming into a place where you're downloading some consciousness that makes all of your problems irrelevant. All of the issues become irrelevant because you are transcending this kind of morality, and you're making your own. You have to get into a place where you realize that your life doesn't have rules anymore, and it never did, but from now on, really, it doesn't have rules anymore. So you might have this tendency to check with the collective consciousness to make sure that what you're about to create is acceptable, or what you're about to create is going to be beneficial to the world. But you need to step into a place where that's no longer how you think about the things and the realities that you're creating. You need to trust that whatever you desire is for the highest good, because you've transcended the matrix where that is even applicable. So I think this, you know, so whatever you really desire, and you don't even have to check to see if that's a valid manifestation. You have to just start getting into a place where you create a thought system that supports everything that you want and that supports your perspective on life. Like, you need to stop looking for guidance and validation again, and you're coming to a place where you're gonna be less and less interactive with these visceral manifestations of higher selves, and that the reason is because when you get more and more expanded in consciousness, you realize that your higher selves, in the previous paradigm, your higher selves manifest as something so distinguished because that's the best that your human self can relate to, that probability or the bandwidth of frequency. So it was so separate from this bandwidth that it manifests as a different, like, etheric creature or an astral creature. But you're coming into a place where your own thought processes and your own subconscious mind is upgraded enough and absorbed enough with these higher frequencies that it's not going to come across as some sort of like an angel or like an extraterrestrial body. Like, of course they exist, but if they don't have to step down their frequency to the visible spectrum, even to your third eye, then why would they keep doing that? If you can just understand that it's a level of your own consciousness, it's more internalized. So that's the place you're coming to, is that you're coming into this like kind of ascended mastery stage. And I don't want to call it an ascended mastery, I don't necessarily resonate with that word too much, but that's exactly where you're headed to. So you need to realize that this realm of guidance is actually gonna disappear more and more, because it's gonna be internalized. It's gonna be you, and the way that you perceive the world right now is going more and more towards that level where it's so irrelevant. Things are irrelevant. Things that mattered so much before are irrelevant because of your frequency shifts. Now, what I'm talking about in terms of the thought process is like you're tapped into that level where you're done manifesting from the third dimension. You're done manifesting. Even using your feelings is like a level down, because like using your emotions to manifest stuff, yeah, that's like the more higher frequency way of manifesting in terms of the previous paradigm, but you're actually tapped into the higher mental body, wherein the actual emotions themselves are simply navigational tools rather than like an ultimate way that you view life. I don't know, I hope this makes sense. But you can pretty much use your emotions as a feedback loop to which bandwidth you're tuned into, and then you can override any kind of futility or defeat in navigating your emotions through the highest possible state, which is the sun. So you have this internal alignment to this higher frequency, the highest frequency of the sun. So whenever you find yourself in a situation where things seem stuck, or that you have a problem encountering with that area, you can automatically align to a body of thoughts that will catapult you to this level, to the ultimate alignment, to the divinity that you have. And then it's just instantaneous. It's just instantaneous, and all it takes is an intention to align fully. Whoa, don't do that. Okay. So what I have here next is the Queen of Wands and Art card. So this Queen of Wands, it has a few different symbolisms that refer to the Atlantean timeline as well as the Hathors, actually. And it's almost like you need to get to a place where everything you experience is just an art form. So instead of thinking so much that you need some sort of a life mission, or, oh, why am I on this planet? What's my personal soul mission? The whole time, the secret was that, not a secret, but the whole time the realization you had to come to was that there is no life's mission. It's all just like an artistic expression. It's just creativity and art. And a lot of people are confused about like how is my life's purpose going to unfold. But it's like, it's a manifestation. Your life's purpose is just a manifestation of the frequency you're on, of the bandwidth you're on. So if you're at a really high frequency, you can't help to manifest situations that your human self has these multiple different facets of service to others, and very creative, and, you know, legendary, and where they are just like, you know, doing really cool things for the world. And so the actual thing is, you haven't come here to do cool things for the world and like have this mission, but the way that you vibrate and the frequency where you're on, when you reach a certain level, it's just automatic manifestation of that state. You can't be in a state where you feel a lot of bliss and love and joy and not have that come through as an experience of having this life's mission. So yeah, you need to flip the paradigm where you think that you're here for a mission, and just realize that you're here, period, and then that mission is a natural byproduct of you being here and ultimately expressing the higher frequencies where you came from. Okay, and I know that's a real serious thing for Arcturians, because their whole thing is just they're so driven by this purpose. And I want you to know, like, if it helps, actually, what the Arcturians like generally consider as their mission is to protect life, protect freedom, and intelligence. And you know, obviously that's not specific for the human to think like, you know, I'm here to protect life and intelligence and freedom, but that's just the manifestation. Like I say, like the specific way that it unfolds is just a manifestation of the frequency you're on. So I want you to if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this reading, it is that there are no rules or maps as to how you create from now on. Oh, I missed my oracle cards on here. So also, if I were to translate whatever just came up in a different way, it's also that whenever you feel a lower frequency emotion, automatically catapult your way of thinking to align yourself back to who you actually are, which is the ultimate creator of this. Like, if you're resonating with the reading that I just gave you, you actually just hit a mark where there's no turning back. Like, you are the creator of your reality. Like, there's no other factors. You are the only sentient being who has the level of free will in your personal reality that you experience. It doesn't mean that the other people don't exist, but they just exist in a reality wherein their reality, they're the only full sentient being with the level of free will that they have. And the universe is intelligent enough to interface you into a possibility in the quantum soup to have it manifest as such that you having that amount of free will is the case. You're the only one who has the capability. So even when you're looking at future timelines, and some people are worried about what other people are creating and what other people are believing in the future is gonna be like, you have to stop worrying about that, because you're actually the only one who has the ability to manifest them even wanting that. Does that level of power make sense to you? There is no other way of coming into full creatorship and not having free will over every single possible scenario. If something catches your eye in the way you're manifesting it in your reality, that is not in alignment with what you truly desire, you're the only one who has the power to change that perspective, either by raising your frequency so much that the problem is no longer relevant, or by noticing why you created that from the first place and taking on the challenge of transmuting it. There is no halfway point of being this level of creator or not. So in your past, if you've experienced this limiting human life and you came to a point where, like, you know, until now you had this limited free will, you had this limited creatorship, you had this co-creatorship with your higher selves. If you're watching this, there is no more that fucking boundary of you and a co-creatorship with your higher self. You are the fucking higher self right now. Those are the cards that you're getting, and that's actually the personal narrative that I'm unfolding. Like right now is more and more realizing what that truly means. So, and you know, like I said, I am a dominant Arcturian, and there is no other possible option of coming into, I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but I need to get this down. There's no halfway point of being the full creator versus a partial creator. There is no point where you go to the 5th dimension and you're still co-creating with higher selves and whatever, and then you go to the 8th dimension and you have more free will. No, this is it. This is the point. And the whole other dimensional reality is just a different kind of color to how you experience that creatorship, but it's now that you are creating this, and it's up to you how much you channel it. But if you actually want to manifest a situation in which you have gradual increase of your creatorship, then that's actually what you're going to experience, because it's actually up to you and you prefer that. So if you want full creatorship and free will over everything, this is your kind of chance to do that. And it's not like it expires, it's actually every moment that you come into your full realization. So take it or leave it. So yes, we still do have a collective reality. We're built in a morphogenetic field, and that is our human biology. And you know, there's a lot of different ways to explain this, even that you know, we're just different versions of ourselves, and there's this collective reality. But it's more like you're outsourcing the different portions of the creatorship so that you can have a very specific experience. But when it comes to the overall kind of narrative that matters, you have full capacity to change that depending on how much you realize of the power that you hold. Accept the opportunity that is offered. So first of all, just like I was talking about how you have full creatorship, full creatorship, and the way that you experience the misalignment of that creatorship and how much you're taking it in is when you have negative emotions. And those are actually just very brief wake-up calls, like alarm bells, to tell you, hey, you're not in your full creatorship mode right now. You're like you're looking at it from the past perspective. Like that's literally what the negative emotions are to you. They're just very brief wake-up calls, like, hey, you're not realizing who you are. But yes, you could always accept this opportunity of taking more and more responsibility to what you create in this reality that you're perceiving. Nothing is outside of your perception. Absolutely nothing is outside of your perception. I am not outside of your perception. You're literally creating this holographic image of me fucking doing your tarot reading. This isn't somebody that exists outside of your awareness. You have created this. And the funny thing is, on my end, I'm creating this reality where you are creating this reality, because we both agree that this is a fucking radical experience. But anyways, this could also translate, so this is going to also translate, I better say, it's also going to translate as you being given this opportunity that you're going to think that it's maybe too good for you, or there's just going to be like this kind of thing that you think might be too good for you, or that you're not ready for something, and they might come in many different instances. So this is like an energy, a frequency that's going to manifest as either one thing or 10 different things or 5 different things. It's up to your awareness, right? But it's asking you to just accept the opportunity and maybe just realize that you're literally creating this responsibility. Like, so let's say that there's opportunities that are too good for you, or opportunities that seem too challenging for you. You have to come to a point where you realize that you're the creator of things that are too good for you, or the things that are out of your league. You're the one that's actually creating those scenarios. So think about why you're creating those, and if you want to keep creating those, you know. Look at this. The card that came up is find and hold your own power. So how much of that spectrum of free will creatorship do you want to take? As much as you want to take it, it's yours. Anything that literally you don't hold, you're actually throwing that into the black hole to get manifested into your external reality. That's actually what's happening. And it's just take in as much as you want. And it's okay sometimes if you don't feel like taking the full responsibility and you intentionally outsource it. When you outsource it with intention and not in a place of victimhood, but like, okay, I'm gonna let the universe decide how this is gonna manifest, like that's a conscious surrender, and that's not really in this victimhood mode. So whatever action you actually end up taking, it all depends on your consciousness and your intention. So even if you make really poor decisions, if it's done with proper intentions, it's not actually bad. You are cherished and protected. This is just a reminder of this graceful energy that surrounds you. Like, so even if you are going through this path and it feels like there's a lot more work to do and it feels like you're not ready, because of all the inner work that you've been doing so far, you have this layer of protection and grace that's already formed, and sometimes you need to realize that it's actually there, because it really is. And I think you're noticing that too, but it's just a reminder, so that when you are kind of afraid, like, okay, if I take on that much power, as in I really take responsibility in a humble way of the fact that I create my reality, there's a huge difference between somebody who's not ready for this power versus somebody who's actually ready and they're humble about it and they're realizing, you know, I am a creator, but I'm not the only creator. Everything is a creator, you know. So when you come into really taking charge of that power, you sometimes have this tendency to think that you might be doing something wrong, but like I said, because of all the self-love that you've been cultivating, all the forgiving that you did in this whole paradigm of awakening, that created an energy field where automatically you could never do anything that's wrong. Okay, does that make sense? And that's almost like why we went through this entire third dimension, going through this entire third dimension, and we shifted now to this full creatorship, right? But going through the past experiences is actually to come to this point where we have that protective layer of grace and forgiveness that we cultivated, so that now whenever we do whatever the fuck we want, we're actually protected because of the fucking grace that we've built. Does that resonate? Because it does for me. That's awesome. Okay, I love you guys so much. I hope this has been helpful. Wow, that was pretty long, considering, you know, whatever. Thank you so much for being here, and I love you guys, and your love and your light is everything. So, oh, I want to show you my light language picture before you go. So here, take this in, and goodbye.